Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. You know, free speech in America is non-negotiable, no matter what the perceived consequences, no matter the worry about retribution from Islamic extremists. Period. End of the story. A primer. The First Amendment wasn't established to protect speech that everyone agrees with. The whole point is to protect even hate speech, speech that offends, speech that insults. Even that liberal icon of the Supreme Court, Justice William Brennan, wrote, "Government may not prohibit the expression of an idea simply because it finds it offensive or disagreeable." The Supreme Court ruling, burning of an American flag, burning of a cross, and cursing dead soldiers at their funerals by the Westboro Baptist Klan, all disgusting and repulsive to me, are protected by the First Amendment. Pam Geller's Draw the Profit contest in Garland, Texas pales in comparison to those examples. But because of her, many in the politically correct class want to rethink free speech because of the sensitivities of some. Like the New York Times editorial board, who said, blatantly Islamophobic provocations like the Garland event can serve only to exacerbate tensions and to give extremists more fuel. Now, I, for one, am sick and tired of liberal apologists who believe in free speech unless they don't. Where were they when the taxpayer dollars through the endowment of the arts put a crucifix of Jesus in a jar of urine and called it art? Where were they when another taxpayer-funded project showed Mother Mary surrounded by pornography and elephant dung? Now they want to rethink the First Amendment? Now they don't want to offend Muslims? And to shut us up, they say the cartoon contest is inspiring ISIS to commit mass murder. Really? Was anyone drawing a cartoon of Mohammed when they hit us at the World Trade Center? They hate us. They don't need a reason to kill us. Look, we need to stop blaming the victim and start killing the murderers. A simple example. You don't protect the batterer or the abuser by telling the victim, don't get him upset, don't provoke him, and you'll be all right. Since when are we willing to surrender our Constitution to keep peace with those hell-bent on killing us anyway? The United States needs to stop wimping around and worrying about talk and start walking the walk. Political correctness be damned. We are at war. It's never been more clear. On one side, free speech. On the other, the Sharia blasphemy law. Which will prevail? They cannot coexist. Consider this. The President of the United States won't use the words Islamic terrorist, Muslim extremist, or jihadist. Won't join the leaders of 40 nations to condemn the killing of innocents for expressing their free speech. He and his sidekick, Hillary Clinton, want to arrest the guy who made the Benghazi video, itself protected by the First Amendment. And they buy an ad to apologize to Muslims for the video. And U.S.-supported UN Resolution 1618, an initiative of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation that calls for the restriction of speech involving the defamation of religion. I have long predicted this administration will cut back our speech if it offends Islam. And make no mistake, as sure as I'm talking to you, there will be efforts to limit our First Amendment, our free speech, to comply with Sharia blasphemy laws, which call for death to those who slander the Prophet Muhammad. Imagine a nation founded on Judeo-Christian ethics changing the rules for a Muslim prophet. And I don't care if you like Pam Geller, you don't like her, or what her motives are. She has the right to say whatever she wants. Now, I don't agree with what Pam did. It was probably a dumb move. But she did something that critics may not have thought about. she opened our eyes and teed up the discussion about whether free speech in America survives the pushback from Sharia law. The First Amendment, besides giving us freedom of speech, says that Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion, which means I don't have to live under any religious rule, especially one that tells me not to criticize someone else's prophet. For the first time, I'm worried about whether or not the present so-called politically correct climate will restrict our free speech in line with Sharia requirements. Our founding fathers gave up everything to create the freedoms that we enjoy. My dad and grandfather and every veteran who fought for this country fought for our fundamental freedoms. And no movement, no politically correct hogwash or limitation of my speech is going to force me to live under the requirements of Sharia law. And if that happens, make no mistake, it means that Sharia enforcement is already here. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter at Judge Jeanine, #JusticeOpen. And with me now, the woman at the center of the firestorm, the organization of the Texas Draw the Profit event, Pamela Geller. Good evening, Pamela.
Hello.
All right. What were your motives in organizing this event in Texas?
Well, back in January, in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo slaughter, Muslim groups held a conference, Stand with the Prophet conference, in support of Sharia restrictions. Now, the bodies weren't even in the ground, and American Muslim groups were holding a conference in support of the ideology behind the slaughter. I mean, wouldn't that have been the time for American Muslim groups to stand for freedom of speech?
But they don't believe in it as it relates to their religion. So you have this Draw the Prophet contest.
In the same spot, in the same room, in the same venue, we had a conference standing for freedom of speech.
But by having a contest where there will be provocation, where they, in drawing Muhammad, are not only insulting their prophet, but is considered blasphemy, punishable by death.
Yes.
Were you worried that anybody there might be hurt?
Well, listen, I've been having conferences like this for years. I've always had to have protection because of death threats. So this was protected like all of our conferences are. But I am not a Muslim, Judge. I don't adhere to Sharia law. And I think the eagerness of the media to kowtow and to impose the Sharia and to punish any of those, those of us that say no, is extremely disturbing and dangerous. I don't think this conference was dumb. I think it was necessary. I mean, now.
Well, what about the fact that, your critics have accused you of being almost as bad as the jihadists? Let's take a look at this.
What they want a holy war. So Pamela Geller can contribute to getting us to that place, or social change can come from love.
That
can come from treating people as Christians are instructed to treat people. But they want a holy war. She's playing into their hands. So actually, her agenda is aligned with their agenda.
Had you heard that one?
No, but
what do you say to that?
I say the jihadic doctrine is inciting the war, not me. They were attacking our embassies. 9/11, there was no Pamela Geller. The subway plot.
But isn't that up to the military? Isn't it up to law enforcement to take that toe-to-toe with them?
Let me ask you something. Were the people in those buildings wearing a uniform, Judge?
Oh, there's no question that they weren't.
The war is on us.
The war is here.
And the war is on my freedom.
What do you say to people who say that because of what you've done, that just forget about you have taken this stand, that you're putting police in jeopardy, you're putting people in jeopardy?
I'm not putting people in jeopardy. The jihadists are putting people in jeopardy. They're here now. This is an Orwellian nightmare. I want to ask you something. Have you ever seen the media go after the Fort Hood jihadi, the Times Square bomber, the subway bomber?
Look, if you heard my open, Pam, you know where I'm coming from.
I'm not blaming you.
But what I'm trying to do here is to explain to viewers, your position is based on your feeling that you need to bring this issue to the public?
It's not a feeling. It must be done. We're abridging our freedoms so as not to offend savages. I'd like to know why the hate that was directed at me was not directed at the Fort Hood jihadi, not directed at the Times Square bomber, not directed at the Christmas Day bomber, not directed at the Christmas tree bomber. I can name, we don't have enough time for me to name the 25,000 deadly Islamic attacks since 9/11, each one with the imprimatur of a Muslim cleric. It's not Pamela Geller. It's the jihadic doctrine. Why isn't anybody talking about the ideology?
Does it surprise you that you have become the issue?
It shocks me. It's astonishing.
Did you ever expect that you would be at the center of this wild controversy?
No. And I think that it's been very instructive to the American people on a lot of levels. First of all, the media is saying one thing, and I can tell you, Judge, I have received tens of thousands of emails in support. Please don't stop. Finally, somebody's doing this. If you look at the comment sections, look at what's going on at this network. You know, when they say we don't want to offend our allies in Egypt and Jordan, the coalition. I want to read one thing to you.
Do it quickly, because I have one last question.
That the president of Egypt said.
El-Sisi, we all know El-Sisi is trying to get rid of the jihadists.
The corpus of texts and ideas that we have sacralized over centuries to the point that departing from them has become impossible is antagonizing the whole world.
Well, let me ask the questions. Are you afraid for your life?
Of course I am.
Are you willing to give your life for this?
I have no choice. I don't want to live as a slave. I don't want to live as a slave. I will only live free.
Do you think Sharia law is coming here?
It's here. We're watching it in action. I'm dumb. I'm insightful. I didn't make the cartoons controversial. The jihadists made the cartoons controversial.
Pam Geller, thanks for being with us this evening.
Thanks for having me.
And developing tonight, the U.S. military on terror alert as ISIS says they have over 70 fighters in 15 states, while FBI Director Jim Comey warns there may be thousands of potential ISIS recruits here already. With me now, Fox News military analyst and author of the new book, Valley of the Shadow, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. Good evening, Colonel. The U.S. military raises its alert level for bases in North America to its highest level since the 10th anniversary of 9/11. Why did they do this?
Well, they did it because there is a general threat, not a specific threat against Fort Bragg or Fort Hood, but just a general threat. And they're doing what's wise. You're tightening up security at the bases. But the military's not in panic mode, and we shouldn't be hysterical about it. They're competent. That doesn't mean a terrorist can't attack a base or can't kill a soldier or his spouse, but it means we're taking reasonable measures that fall well short of hysteria.
And what about ISIS? You know, we keep reading about, Director Jim Comey is now talking about thousands, in 50 states. But now what we're hearing, Colonel, is that it's not just the disaffected young kids from poor neighborhoods who'd be joining a gang and so they join ISIS instead. These are middle class, some of them upper middle class kids. What is the attraction?
Well, first of all, it's always been a myth that you recruit terrorists only from the lower classes. It's actually people that have to have a sense of not being recognized for their magnificent value, et cetera. And so it's often the more entitled feeling, failed kids of the middle class or upper middle class who will do this. Now, what is appealing to them? What's appealing to them is a great deal. I mean, we're telling these kids, especially, the jailbird converts, we're saying, hey, you can get a job flipping burgers. You can get a job at a Walmart. And Islamic State is telling them, all at once, all will give you permission to torture, to kill, to rape, to enslave, and if anything happens to you, you get to go to paradise and get 72 versions. That's a good deal. I mean, we're not making a good counteroffer in this bidding war.
What is our counteroffer, Colonel? What should our counteroffer be?
The best counteroffer is to kill those Mike Foxtrots. Just kill the terrorists wherever you find them on a much greater scale than we're killing them. I'm not interested in drawing cartoons. I'm interested in exterminating terrorists. And it's going to take a long time. And people say, oh, no, we can't kill them all. We can't play whack-a-mole. Look, we have 2,000 years of history of these religious fanatic insurgencies. The only thing that's worked in 2,000 years is killing them.
Well, it's obvious. I agree with that. But Colonel, what we had this week in Texas was the killing of these two, ISIS-connected recruits who came to attack those at Pam Geller's event. Now, you know, we've got a guy who's a traffic cop with a revolver in Texas who takes him out in a second. Why do I feel like they're more prepared in Texas to deal with this than they are in Washington? Why are we on the defense with ISIS as opposed to the offense?
Well, everybody in Washington went to Harvard or Yale. Everybody in Texas went to Texas A&M or University of Texas. Go Horns, you know,
Yes.
Hook 'em horns, and you know, and also, you know, we should all be very grateful to that cop, not only because he got the formula exactly right, 1 gun, 2 dead terrorists, straight shooting, but because he saved the American taxpayer a lot of money in trials, medical bills, etc. I mean, look, it sounds monstrous. I know you got to kill the jihadis. Well, they want to kill us, and it's a very straightforward equation. You kill them first. And if you're unwilling to kill them and keep on killing them, they will keep on killing us. I mean, it'd be nice if we could live in a paradise where negotiations, which are the opium of the intellectual class, where negotiations could solve everything. Negotiations don't work with fanatics.
All right, Colonel Ralph Peters, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
All right. And vote in tonight's Insta poll. What are your thoughts on Pamela Geller's Draw the Profit contest in Texas? Facebook or tweet me at Judge Jeanine, #Justice on Fox. And coming up, what will it take for Americans to stop buying the Clinton excuses? Clinton Cash author Peter Schweizer joins me live next.